Imagine this. You step into a crowded room, a lively gathering where voices weave into an intricate symphony of chatter. Laughter ripples through the air, hands shake in greeting, and faces light up with animated conversation. This, many would say, is the essence of human connection, a social event where bonds are reinforced, friendships flourish, and people revel in what they believe to be meaningful interactions. But now, shift your focus. At the edge of the room, there stands a lone figure, unmoved, detached. They are not anxious, nor do they appear awkward or lonely. Instead, they seem wholly indifferent to the social spectacle unfolding before them. While others lose themselves in small talk and pleasantries, this individual is lost in thought, absorbed in something far more profound than the noise of the crowd. Their mind, rich with complexity, renders external distractions unnecessary. Why do highly intelligent individuals often seem disengaged from social life? Is it arrogance, introversion, or is there something deeper at play? Could it be that intelligence naturally cultivates a preference for solitude? And if so, why? Today, we explore the profound insights of Arthur Schopenhauer, one of the most brilliant yet unconventional philosophers of the 19th century. His perspective on intelligence and social life defies everything we've been conditioned to believe, and by the end of this discussion, you may never view human relationships the same way again. Schopenhauer argued that intelligence and solitude are deeply intertwined. The more intelligent a person is, the less they rely on social interaction for stimulation or validation. Why? Because their internal world is already vast and full. In his seminal work, The World as Will and Representation, Schopenhauer suggests that the average person seeks company because, when left alone, their mind feels empty. In contrast, those with highly developed intellects possess thoughts, ideas, and inner dialogues so engaging that solitude becomes a source of pleasure rather than a burden. This raises an important question. Is social interaction truly essential for happiness, or is it something we've simply been taught to believe? From childhood, we are conditioned to think that being social is a fundamental part of life. Making friends, engaging with others, and thriving in social environments are deemed necessary for well-being. But history tells a different story. The great thinkers who chose solitude. Some of the most brilliant minds, Isaac Newton, Nikola Tesla, Emily Dickinson, Franz Kafka, and even Schopenhauer himself, chose to distance themselves from society. Were they miserable? Or did they simply understand something most people don't? Schopenhauer viewed socializing not as a fundamental human need, but as a means of escape for those who lack depth. He believed that people who constantly crave interaction do so because they cannot bear the silence of their own minds. To him, most conversations are filled with trivialities, gossip, pleasantries, and meaningless exchanges that serve no intellectual purpose. In contrast, highly intelligent individuals are self-sufficient. They do not seek companionship out of necessity, but choose it selectively, only when it serves a higher purpose. Have you ever left a social gathering feeling drained rather than fulfilled? Have you ever watched others revel in endless chatter while you felt disconnected, as though your energy was being depleted rather than replenished? If so, you're not alone. Many intelligent individuals experience this detachment, not because they dislike people, but because they see through the illusion of social necessity. Humans are undeniably social creatures, evolutionarily wired to depend on groups for survival and emotional well-being. But Schopenhauer saw a different truth. While society is essential for practical cooperation, it does not necessarily lead to internal fulfillment. In fact, he argued that excessive socializing is often a distraction from true personal growth. He compared people to empty vessels. Those lacking intellectual depth require external input, conversations, entertainment, and validation to feel complete. But those with rich inner worlds do not need these distractions. Their own thoughts and creativity provide endless stimulation, making solitude not just desirable, but necessary. This challenges one of the deepest assumptions of modern life, that being social is an inherent virtue. But is it? Or is it simply a way to avoid the discomfort of being alone with one's own thoughts? Schopenhauer also identified a fundamental issue with social interactions: the inevitable element of conformity. Social gatherings often follow predictable patterns, polite conversations, shared societal norms, and an unspoken pressure to suppress one's true self in order to fit in. Highly intelligent individuals, however, resist conformity. They value authenticity over acceptance, depth over superficiality, and truth over politeness. This unwillingness to conform makes them outliers, often misunderstood or even labeled as antisocial. But their detachment is not rooted in disdain for people. It stems from their ability to see through the illusion of social life. To them, much of what people call connection is merely a scripted performance, driven more by habit than genuine meaning. If intelligent individuals naturally gravitate toward solitude, does this mean that social life has no value for them? Or is there a way for them to engage with society in a meaningful and fulfilling way? This is where Schopenhauer's most powerful insight emerges. He made a crucial distinction between solitude and loneliness. In his view, loneliness is a condition that arises from a lack of fulfillment, whereas solitude is a state of self-sufficiency. The majority of people fear being alone because they equate it with emotional emptiness. But an intelligent mind does not experience solitude in the same way. True wisdom, Schopenhauer believed, comes from stepping back and observing life rather than being fully immersed in it. Schopenhauer did not believe that all social interactions were meaningless, only that most of them were. He advised that intelligent individuals should not avoid social life entirely, but rather be highly selective about whom they spend their time with. The key is to seek relationships based on genuine intellectual and emotional connection, rather than social obligation. He also warned against allowing intellectual superiority to turn into contempt for others. True wisdom lies not in rejecting society outright, but in understanding its nature while maintaining detachment. Schopenhauer's philosophy leads us to a striking realization. It is not that intelligent people reject society, rather, they see through it. Most human interactions, he believed, are not based on deep understanding, but rather on mutual necessity, social conditioning, and habit. Recognizing this frees intelligent individuals from seeking validation from social life. Instead of chasing superficial connections, they invest only in relationships that align with their values and intellect. In the end, Schopenhauer's insights challenge one of our most deeply ingrained beliefs, that social success equates to fulfillment. If deep thinking naturally leads to solitude, perhaps the true measure of intelligence is not in how many people one knows, but in how deeply one understands reality. So, what do you think? Does intelligence inevitably lead to solitude? Or is there still value in social life for those who see the world differently?